and welcome to another episode of Booming Millennials. And once again, I'm joined by my good friend Matt Huber. We're going to talk about another of his favorite topics, technology. You're kind of a tech nerd, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm a nerd and I like technology. We should probably start with what exactly we mean when we're saying technology here in this instance.
Well, in this specific conversation, we're talking about the things that people generally use in their day-to-day lives. So communications, technology,
Right.
their television, their
Video game console.
video games,
Yeah.
stuff like
Computer, social media.
that. Your average electronics mostly.
Yeah. So let's talk about these various types. So there's communication, which is obviously the smartphone.
Yes, your phones, your laptops, your desktops.
Yeah, because you communicate with your laptop as much as you do your phone.
With the advent of the internet, with high-speed internet in the 2000s, people have been able to communicate with each other across the globe faster, and it's made things different than they've ever been before.
Right.
And that hasn't caught up with some people.
Right. So with the phone, would you rather text or get a phone call?
Okay, now I'm one of those rare people who appreciates a phone call.
Yeah.
Because I don't like the anxiety of watching and waiting for somebody to get a text back.
And sometimes a text is a better way to go, but the thing about text is that you lose a lot of nuance.
You do.
That you don't get, because you can't hear the tone, the person's tone and all that.
But at the same time, you learn. It's a skill you learn to do.
Yeah, you can kind of pick up if you know the person, you can kind of pick up on what they're doing, what their tone would be.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like a second language if you know how to talk the right way through texting or through forums online. You can give out what you're trying to say without say you don't try to say things overly sarcastic online because it's hard to tell
sarcasm doesn't
online.
come across that way very well in messages. Yeah.
The only time you do that is, I mean, you can say say if you have sarcasm, you can either somebody already knows you're a very sarcastic person and they can tell you're being sarcastic,
right? Or
B, you can be like, you
have to know.
You can identify. You can identify your text or your comment or your post as being sarcastic with like a
hashtag sarcasm,
/s or something like that.
Yeah. But a large part of it is knowing your audience too.
Yeah, it's all about nuance. Yeah. It's all about just knowing the right words to say.
What do you say to boomers who complain about you guys looking at your phones all the time?
I point out that they used to look at newspapers all the time.
Good point.
And and we're doing the exact same thing.
It really is. So you mentioned gaming, video games.
Video games, they're a massive part of everyday life for people in my demographic and younger.
Yeah.
I mean, they hand out iPads.
And let's be clear, video games themselves are not a millennial thing. I think Pong was the first video game, and it came out in the 70s.
Yeah.
I had a video game console when I was a kid in like 1977.
What, like an Atari?
It was before Atari. It was Univision.
Oh, you had a Univision.
It had Pong and hockey, which was Pong with 2 paddles for each player.
Nice.
And an early version of what became Duck Hunt was like shooting skeet and then target practice.
Interesting.
And it was all black and white, even though it was on a color television. Atari came out, and then Mattel put out Intellivision, which today the graphics would be absolute crap, but back then they were like, everybody was just like, whoa. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they supported it the way they should have. So, what's your favorite game right now?
My favorite game. See, that's another thing. I have a lot of. I favor a lot of old games, like and not old by like Atari standards, but old by like modern standards. Yeah. Like my favorite game right now is Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic.
Okay.
And that came out in 2001, if I'm correct. Yeah. So that's like it's 20 years old.
I play a little bit, and the one I like is Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein is a great series, and
I remember playing that, and I remember playing it when it was shareware. Right. I picked up a copy. There was an outlet mall down in Raleigh where I was living at the time, out near the airport, and there was a store that sold nothing but shareware. And I picked up a disc and was like, "Oh, this looks cool," and was immediately hooked. And when Parker got a PS3, one of the games he got from me was one of the newer versions of Wolfenstein. I am amazed at the graphics.
Yeah, right. Now talking about graphics, this is kind of regressive in a way, but at the same time, it's still a great game, and it's one of my favorites. And it's a bit newer than Knights of the Old Republic. Is Minecraft.
Yeah.
I love Minecraft.
Really? I thought Minecraft was a younger kids thing.
See, it became a younger kids thing when Microsoft bought it. But when it first came out, it was just sort of it was a thing. It was just a game, and it was a thing you could build. You can build, just like to describe the complexity of what you can do. You can build a working computer within the game.
Okay.
And play other games on that computer.
Yeah. Okay. And then you mentioned social media.
Yeah. Well, social media is a massive part of everyone's lives these days, from Twitter to Facebook to Instagram, even all the way to 4chan.
And you guys don't really use Facebook that much anymore, right?
I use Facebook all the time. I use it for memes.
But you don't use it the same way that, say, a boomer would or a Gen Xer.
No, not really. I don't use it to I don't post updates about myself very often. Yeah. But
and the way everybody uses Facebook has changed immensely from when I've been on it since like 2009, 2010 or something. I don't know. But back then it was
as long as I've had it.
Back then, you would talk about how your day was, or what you were feeling at any given moment, and now it's even older people are posting more memes and articles and that kind of thing.
Yeah, because people go to other websites for stuff like that. They go to Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter.
Now let's talk about television. The way we watch television has changed immensely from when I was a kid.
Yes.
Because when I was a kid, it was strictly broadcast television.
You had like one.
You had an antenna. We had 3. So, and then cable comes along, and we thought cable was great because you didn't have to get up and you could use your remote to change the channels. You didn't have to adjust the antenna or anything, and you had a ton of channels to watch. You didn't have shit on them to watch, but you had a lot of channels.
And to a degree, it's still like that on TV.
Yeah.
But now with the creation of things like streaming services,
right?
Specifically with the creation of Netflix, it's made TV watching different. People watch shows seasons at a time instead of episodes at a time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're hitting this point where we're almost mimicking the way cable growth developed, where when they got many channels, now we're getting many services,
and they all want to charge something for it.
They all want to charge you something, and because they all have the exclusivity deals for their shows,
right?
They can't you can't have just one. You got to have at least 3. At least.
And one of the big appeals to the streaming, cutting the cable, cutting the cord, was that it was going to cost less. at the way things are going, we're going to wind up spending this much or more. I'm not thrilled about that. Why do you guys love technology so much?
It's not so much a love as it is an adaptation. We grew up with it.
Yeah.
It was pushed on us all from very young ages. You could see little kids these days with their own personal iPads.
Right. One of the interesting things is in the generational demographics is the people who were like the very early millennials, or maybe the people that were the cusp between Gen X and millennials, have their own specific little name. They are the Oregon Trail generation because they played Oregon Trail. They were the first generation to play Oregon Trail in school.
I've never actually heard that one before. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. They get a cool name. The rest of us are just cuspers.
Yeah, right.
So, and when we were setting this up, you mentioned STEM. Yeah. So how does STEM education play into all of this?
Well, the modern American public education system strongly pushes science, technology, engineering, and math. So they push a lot of typing classes and just getting to know how to work.
What grade were you in when you took your first typing class?
I took my first typing class in 5th grade, but we were using computers since at least like 3rd grade.
Yeah, I can remember when my daughter, who's now 30, was in school. They in elementary school, in like 1st and 2nd grade, they would go to the library and use the computer. Play game, like educational type games and stuff. So you guys have because of that, you guys have a literacy that other generations don't. Which is why you get to teach us how to. Hey, you're the ones we call when we have problems with our computer.
Yeah, and then they complain that we're.
And you can tell us how to download a PDF.
Yeah. I honestly, I don't even feel bad about that because Acrobat can be such a bitch sometimes.
Yeah. So, let's end this up with this question. What would you say to an older person who complains about your generation's embrace of technology?
I would say if you have such a big problem with it, then you probably shouldn't have helped create it.
Okay. I think that's entirely valid. So, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed this and tune in for another episode.